Hi, this is TapCat. Welcome back to Sherlock Holmes Crimes and Punishments. I completely forgot there's always a letter waiting for you after you solve a case. Let's see what this one's about. Cases, yeah, whatever. But so let's see. Lady Brackenstall. She still serves her sentence with her maid and has rejected all offers of help. Whatever, man. I just solve crimes, you know? Sorry, Lady Brackenstall. Let's go. Okay, we need to go back to Kew Gardens. Okay, we'll talk to this guy, Hamish. Oh man, holy crap.
Mr. Hamish, can you tell us who holds the keys to the locked greenhouses?
That would be Albert, Mr. Dunn's son. Yes, Albert keeps all the keys, and one can only imagine why.
What do you mean?
Well, he was never interested in Kew Gardens before, and now all of a sudden he's trying to act as if he owns the place. I think he wants to take over the management here. He'd do better to leave that to me. He has no experience. No, none at all.
As deputy director, how is your relationship with Montague Dunn?
To be honest with you, Mr. Holmes, it could have been better. You see, every Tuesday he would carry out his inspection of the gardens, but it was solely to make an impression. Great pretense that he cared at all. He would give out absurd orders, ignoring anyone else's opinion. He would then disappear for the rest of the week. He was what some might call a man of action. I'd say rather he was overzealous and chaotic. So after all, it was no wonder, perhaps, that he ended up like that, if you take into consideration his kind of lifestyle.
You mentioned that Mr. Dunn led a particular lifestyle.
Well, it's no secret that he enjoyed, celebrating, shall we say? He was a member of the London Smart Set. He was famous for it. That and...
And?
He had an eye for the ladies, to put it mildly, Mr. Holmes.
What is your opinion of Albert as a student of botany?
He's useless. I often tell him so, and I can only give him cleaning tasks. Botany is not his life's work, and his father well knew it. He was furious about it.
He was?
Oh yes. He forced his son to work here, and he never missed an opportunity to criticize him publicly.
Are you able to elaborate on that?
Well, for example, with our last exhibition here, Mr. Dunn had Albert make a presentation speech. But then, while the lad was speaking, Mr. Dunn interrupted him, asking him difficult questions, making him look like a failure. It was with the intention of making a fool of him, Mr. Holmes.
That must have been terribly humiliating.
Yes, he was crushed, and he had to leave. Everybody was making fun of poor Albert. That is, except for Miss Margaret White, who is such a nice lady and who always takes pity on Albert.
That's very strange. One second he's trashing Albert. The next, he's blaming the dad for doing the same thing.
Mr. Hamish, can you explain to us what happened to the colonial collection? It seems somewhat depleted.
But, most likely maintenance work, tidying up.
You're not sure, then? But you're the deputy director.
Well, I am busy. I cannot be everywhere at once.
You mentioned a Miss White. Would you tell us more about her?
She is a student who works here part-time. She is quite charming indeed. She possesses a great talent for botany. You should take a look at some of her experiments that she carried out in the laboratory. Ah, if only she were not so naive.
Why naive?
The way she used to flutter around Mr. Montague Dunn. And he couldn't help but be flattered by all her attention. How could an intelligent woman such as Miss White not see through his game? I can only scratch my head and wonder.
Tell me, Mr. Hamish, Do you grow the more deadly variety of plant here?
You mean insectivorous? Yes, but nothing larger than that.
Thank you, Mr. Hamish. We shall continue our investigation.
Well, I have to say, he was my leading suspect right at the beginning, and nothing has happened to change that. So we won't be able to get into these other rooms until we talk to Albert. And I don't quite know... Is this where... Yeah, wow, I got lucky. First try.
Do you hold the keys to all of these locked doors?
Yes, you can have them. But I cannot give you the keys to the cloakroom. The employees' effects are private. I am sure you understand.
I imagine that your relationship with your father may have been a strained one.
Yes. I cannot say that he was a kind man, for he never listened to me at all. He forced me to work here. But now, after his death, I've been pondering it over. Perhaps he wasn't so wrong about me after all. I have to follow his path, and I have to manage Kew Gardens. And I can do it. I can be as good as any other who works here.
We noticed that a part of the colonial collection has been cleared.
Ah. At the moment, I'm just dealing with the storage room. I don't know much about the other rooms.
Who is Miss Margaret White?
Ah, she is the young lady who studies with me. She visits here sometimes to help out with the greenhouses. In fact, she should be here today. She wanted to work at the seed house. That's the small greenhouse across from the large glass house.
Would you please tell us about Martin Hamish, the deputy director?
Well, I have to tell you that Mr. Hamish is not and has never been the deputy director of Kew Gardens. My father would not have tolerated it.
Indeed? That is most interesting. He told us that he was.
Yes, because he believes that the management should be passed down to him now that my father is dead. But in actual fact, Mr. Hamish only has the honor of being the garden's longest-serving employee. In fact, if we are to think logically at all, it should be me who takes over the management of Kew Gardens.
Do you not have a good relationship with Mr. Hamish?
I suppose so. But we have very little in common. Mr. Hamish loves his plants and Kew Gardens, and I cannot say that I share his passion.
I see. And how was his relationship with your father?
Oh, he hated my father. It was obvious. He would be furious whenever my father boasted of Kew Gardens in the newspapers or at conferences. He was convinced that my father was stealing all of the credit for himself. But my father treated Mr. Hamish in the same way as he treated anyone. Dismissively. With indifference.
Thank you, young man. We shall see you again soon.
So, Albert is really weird. I mean, he thinks he should take over, but he looks down on Hamish because all he cares about is Kew Gardens and plants. Well, if you don't care about Kew Gardens and plants, why should you be the manager? That's very weird. I'm sure these two... Oh, okay. Never mind. Okay. Okay, wait a second. How's this possible? I was told to come in here, but no two of these match up. That doesn't make sense. Huh. Okay, what am I being tasked to do? Inspect the staff buildings. Let's do that. Not a bad looking room.
Newspapers discussing Kew Gardens.
Kew Gardens are pleased to announce the successful production of a new variety of barley, one that retains a complete resistance to the cold. They have named it the Siberian barley. Mr. Martin Hamish, the proud cultivator of the graft, will hold a press conference next Monday morning upon this very subject. That is exciting. Okay, keys and the statue. We're supposed to find a use for both of those. Well, I'll do my best. Letter. My dearest Margaret, following our last conversation, I believe it might be better if you vacate your position here at Kew Gardens. All right, the sexy voice doesn't quite work for that. As you pointed out quite bluntly, you are no longer in need of my support. You are quite able to stand up for yourself in this world, as you say. Well, I give you back your freedom and wish you nothing but good luck. Okay, so we kind of knew there was a little bit of a thing going on between Montague and Margaret. And apparently they were on the outs. Okay, am I actually going to get to make a deduction this time? That would be nice. I wouldn't think... Oh, man. This is really weird. It keeps telling me that I can do a new deduction, and then I come in here and no two things match up. This is very odd. Hopefully this isn't going to screw me up somehow.
A photograph of Montague Dunn and Reynold Hamish.
Who's Reynold Hamish, I wonder? Oh boy, do I have to do the safe cracking thing? After fiddling with this for a good while, I finally figured out what I'm supposed to be doing and the pattern. So you can see that when I move it in a certain way, what happens is I lift these buttons and they stay lifted. So the goal, I believe, is to get them all up. Because if you screw up the pattern, then they all drop back down. So it was 2 up on the left, 2 up on the right, and then you push 3 more. And now we go 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to come back around. Now, this part I haven't done, so I'm theorizing that this will work. Okay, cool. My dear friend, please allow me to express my disappointment on reading your last letter. I'm paying you to defend me, not to accuse me. Kew Gardens is a royal institution. We are granted the great opportunity to travel the world and to save the most extraordinarily precious and rare species of plant. Our duty is to protect such species and from those who might wish to use them for dubious purpose. This divine syndicate of who you speak have no right to hold such precious plants. Remember the case of June 14th, 1889. So I must respectfully ask you once again to notarize the permissions on these plants on behalf of Kew Gardens. I'm guessing we're going to have a trip to our archives about that. The documents were sent to you on Monday. See you in Boodles on Tuesday as always. Okay, so somebody wanted to buy plants. He didn't want to give it to him. Is that why he's dead now? Mr. Dunn, we must ask you, for the last time, for the return of our dear sisters. You do not have any right to hold them in prison. They do not belong to you. Your so-called permissions are wholly false. You are hiding behind lies. The lie, we need not elaborate, that was reported in the press, as is the case of June 14th, 1889. What you have done is quite abhorrent. Be very sure that we shall never abandon our family members. By family members, I'm pretty sure they mean plants, by the way. So these guys, they're a little crazy. We trusted you and regret having done so. Okay. So, yes, search the archives for the case of June 14th, 1889. I'll be honest, that wasn't hard to see coming. I don't exactly consider myself a genius for figuring that one out.
I suggest that we don't tell Miss Margaret White about this document.
How would I know that until I read it? Debt of Miss Margaret White to Mr. Montague Dunn. Rental of a suite of rooms at Oxford Street. An educational scholarship at the London University. Credits opened at Hamilton. Holy crap. So she was totally a kept woman. Wow, what a scandal that would have been back then. Well, it's telling me I can do a deduction. I wonder if for once I will actually be able to do that. Sweet. Okay. I don't suppose I can do any others. I actually didn't mean to do that. Alright, I'm going to leave it. Is there anything else in here? Oh, champagne.
Champagne. Montague Dunn had good taste. Champagne. Montague Dunn had good taste.
Okay, there has to be something else.
French wine. A remarkable vintage.
There we go. That Monty, he was quite the fellow. We already saw that photograph. You got anything
What
to
should
say?
we do next, Holmes?
No. There's Montague. I think we're done here. But there should be at least one more room. There we go. Okay, I will go into that inspection mode, but first...
Such masks are generally worn when dealing with toxic chemicals. Gloves, waterproof aprons, everything one might need for self-protection.
Do they grow dangerous plants here?
Well, I think we already know that they do, Watson. Why is it not finished? I would have thought... Wait.
It appears as though the protective equipment is missing from here.
There we go. There we go, governor. Can I see any other items with normal vision? That was just... Well, hold on. Wait.
A botany book.
Yes.
This student's book belongs to Albert.
Okay. Chemistry cupboard.
Chemicals. A sufficient quantity for some serious experiments.
Well, you know Holmes knows about that. Because he is a man who loves his experiments.
This is a table for experiments. It resembles my own.
Only this one is kept in good order, Holmes.
That was a good one, Watson. I'm going to give you that. Okay. I think we're ready to do this.
There was a bottle here. It left behind a trace of the substance that pervaded the laboratory. Several drops of the substance were spilled. Someone carried this bottle around.
Gold dust? Good heavens. What's it doing here?
The gold is almost immune to chemical attacks, so it may be a valuable auxiliary for various experiments.
But why would anyone perform such experiments in a botanical garden?
Fair question.
Several drops of the substance were spilled. Someone carried this bottle around. The bottle is no longer here, but it is possible to detect a faint scent. We need a good nose.
Well, as I recall, we happen to have a faithful hound with the finest nose in the British Empire, I think is what Holmes said. Now, I just want to make sure. I know he said he wasn't going to give us the key for here, but I mean...
Locked.
Holmes, Albert Dunn didn't give us the
Yeah.
key to this door.
It does not matter. We will open it.
Well, see, this is why I'm glad. You got to check things.
Open.
And in we go.
Martin Hamish's locker.
Nothing significant there.
Father and I. Kew Gardens. A review on rare and exotic plants. Martin Hamish has written several pieces.
Mr. General Secretary, recent events unfolding at Kew Gardens oblige me to renew my application for the management position. Yeah, so as soon as Dunn was dead, he wanted the job. Fair enough.
Martin Hamish studied chemistry. Interesting.
Yes, it is. All right. Is this going to be Albert's? Yeah.
Albert's locker. Specialist articles on shipyards and ship construction. Albert Dunn has a great passion for shipbuilding and the sea. A rejection letter from the British Royal Naval College.
Your excellent results within our entry examinations. We are unable to invite you into the Royal Navy School. Wow. So basically his father kept him from being able to pursue his dream. Anything else before I shift into this? I don't see anything.
Young Albert, standing with a woman in front of London University.
Is there a locker for Margaret? It looks like there could be.
Miss White's locker. Apparently, Miss White is a capable student.
Good on her.
A draft of the letter that Miss White sent to her parents.
Let's see. So she was asking her parents for money. I assume that's after she had her falling out with Montague, right?
These jewels must be worth a small fortune. A vanity purse. It is of high quality.
We were surprised to receive your letter. How could you think to ask us for money after all of these years that have passed since you left and without any thought of us? You've never shared with us any detail of your success at university, but you choose to do so now? We suppose you must be ashamed of us, for we are not from the same high class as your new friends. Yes, we are modest people, but you should learn to put your family first, as we at home have always done. And none of us ever compromised their reputation, as it appears you have already with your employer, Mr. Dunn. No, Margaret, it is you who makes us feel ashamed. Your parents. So that didn't go well for her, to put it mildly. Okay, there must be something else in here. Dear Margaret, I know how your financial troubles are overwhelming you at this present time. Please let me reassure you that I could not permit you to remain in such a dilemma. I was born of a wealthy family. I would consider it an honor if you might accept my help. Poor Albert. So he was pining for the girl that his dad was befriending, shall we say. Miss White's family, White and Dunn. Margaret White's studies and social situation were completely dependent upon Montague Dunn's wealth. Well, that seems true enough. I already did that. Sorry. Oh, okay. Let me get rid of that. So, White studies. No. Oh, okay. So none of these link up. Okay, fair enough. Okay, well, the funny thing is, it seems like literally everybody had a motive to kill good old Monty. Have I gotten credit for searching? Yes, I have. Okay. Let's touch base with these guys really quickly, since we have some new things to ask them about.
Mr. Hamish, was someone from your family connected with Kew Gardens?
Family? No. I'm the only one with a passion for botany.
I don't believe you, sir.
I do not think so. This photograph of you and your father at Kew Gardens suggests the opposite.
But you have no right to.
Do tell us more about your father.
He was, indeed, the greatest botanist of his time in the British Empire. He worked together with Montague Dunn until the end of his life. He brought me in at the age of 12.
Did he get on well with Mr. Dunn?
No, I couldn't say that. They expanded Kew Gardens together, that was all. And it was all my father's work, for Dunn always lived the high life.
So Mr. Dunn was not helping your father?
Oh, yes, he provided the financial support. And as far as he was concerned, that fulfilled his role. But the worst of it was, he declared himself as the master of Kew Gardens. Fame meant nothing to my father, so it was easy for Mr. Dunn to take all the credit.
Thank you, Mr. Hamish. We shall continue our investigation.
This guy definitely hated him. Yeah, I'm not sure. There we go. Martin Hamish had a motive. He believed that he and his father's lives had been ruined by Dunn, who had taken credit for all their work. I mean, it's pretty true, frankly. As best we can tell, at least. Alright, let's go talk to Albert.
I perceive that you are passionate about the Royal Navy.
Passionate? No, not really. I like ships, that is all.
Are you quite sure? You do not seem to be so interested in plants.
It's difficult, that's all. My future is here. It has never been about anything else.
Liar.
And yet I know that the Royal Naval College rejected your application.
Ah, you truly are as clever as they say. Yes, that's correct. And in fact, my father was strongly against the idea. He did his best to ruin my plans, although I almost did succeed. But my dreams were shattered, Mr. Holmes.
Thank you, young man. We shall see you again soon.
Pretty sure that's gonna be another motive. Albert's humiliation and Albert's ambition. Albert had a motive to kill his father. Yep. Maybe all of these people teamed up and they all killed him. Kind of a murder on the Orient Express type of deal. Okay, well, we have plenty more to do, as you can see. We need to bring Toby back here to do some sniffing around. We need to meet Margaret White. A lot of stuff. But we'll have to do that in our next installment because that is all for now. Thank you for watching. I hope we see you next time.